Welcome to the Do It a Cillian podcast, where we explore the infinite possibilities of human potential. I'm Gray.
And I'm Jane. Today's episode is special because we're tackling what might be the defining challenge of our generation: how to maintain and enhance our humanity in an increasingly AI-driven world.
You know, Jane, before we dive in, I want to share something that happened to me last week. I was in a meeting where an executive proudly announced they'd cut their team's workload in half using AI tools. But when I looked around the room, I didn't see celebration. I saw anxiety.
That's such a powerful observation, Gray. It perfectly illustrates the complex relationship we're developing with AI. On one side, we have these incredible efficiency gains, but on the other, we have very human concerns about what it all means for us.
Exactly. And that's why today's discussion isn't just another tech talk. We're going to explore how to thrive, not just survive, in this new era. Let's start with what I call the efficiency paradox. We've gotten really good at doing more things faster, but has anyone stopped to ask if we should?
You know, Stephanie Creary from Wharton makes a fascinating point about this. She notes that while AI tools are designed to make us more efficient, our human capacity, cognitive, emotional, and physical, hasn't evolved at the same pace.
This reminds me of a conversation I had with a tech startup founder who said something striking: "We've optimized everything except our humanity."
That's profound, Gray, and it connects directly to what we're seeing in workplaces globally. Can you elaborate on what you've observed in your research about this disconnect?
Pauses. Think about it this way. We're using AI to process a month's worth of data in minutes, but we still need time to process complex emotions, to be creative, to build meaningful relationships. These fundamentally human processes can't be accelerated.
And this brings us to our first key insight for listeners. The goal isn't to match AI's speed, but to leverage it in a way that creates space for our uniquely human capabilities.
This leads us to something Sinan Errol from MIT highlighted. In a world where AI excels at answering questions, our value lies in asking the right ones.
Let's break this down for our listeners. What does asking the right questions actually look like in practice?
I'll share a framework I've developed called the 3 horizons of questioning. 1. Immediate questions. How can we solve this problem? 2. Strategic questions. Should we be solving this problem? 3. Transformative questions. What new possibilities does this problem reveal?
That's brilliant, Gray, and it reminds me of something I observed in my consulting work. Companies that excel in the AI era aren't just implementing technology. They're fundamentally rethinking their relationship with knowledge and creativity.
Can you give our listeners a concrete example?
Absolutely. I worked with a marketing firm that was using AI for content creation. Initially, they focused on volume, how many pieces they could produce. But their breakthrough came when they started asking different questions. How can AI help us understand the emotional journey of our audience? What stories aren't being told?
That's a perfect example of moving from optimization to transformation.
Now let's address something crucial: the risk of perpetuating existing biases through AI systems.
Yes, and this is where Purnima Luthra's research becomes particularly relevant. She emphasizes 2 critical behaviors: deep curiosity and honest introspection.
Let's give our listeners some practical tools here. What does deep curiosity look like in practice?
I've developed what I call the lens framework for evaluating AI outputs. 1. Look for missing perspectives. 2. Examine assumptions. 3. Notice patterns of exclusion. 4. Seek alternative viewpoints.
That's incredibly useful, Gray, and it connects to something I've been researching about cognitive diversity in AI implementation teams.
This brings us to what might be the most profound part of our discussion, what philosopher Pia Lauritsen calls the 3 E's: existential, ethical, and epistemological questions.
Let's break these down for our listeners, Gray. How do these abstract concepts translate into practical guidance?
Think of it this way. 1. Existential questions ask, who are we becoming? 2. Ethical questions ask, what should we do? 3. Epistemological questions ask, how do we know what we know?
And here's what's fascinating: AI can inform these questions, but it can't answer them. They require human wisdom, experience, and judgment.
So, let's talk about practical steps our listeners can take to thrive in this AI-augmented future.
I've identified 5 key skills that I believe are critical. 1. Question crafting, the ability to ask profound and generative questions. 2. Pattern recognition, seeing connections across seemingly unrelated domains. 3. Ethical reasoning, making value-based judgments. 4. Emotional intelligence, understanding and navigating human dynamics. 5. Systems thinking, understanding complex interconnections.
Those are excellent, Jane. And I'd add something I call wisdom cultivation, the deliberate practice of developing judgment and insight.
Let's give our listeners a practical framework for integrating AI while preserving human potential.
I call this the human framework. 1. Hold space for reflection. 2. Understand your unique value. 3. Measure what matters. 4. Amplify human connection. 5. Navigate with purpose.
Can you give an example of how this works in practice?
Sure. Take a content strategist using AI. Instead of just using it to generate more content, they might 1. Hold space by scheduling regular reflection time. 2. Understand their unique value in storytelling and emotional connection. 3. Measure impact through engagement and transformation, not just views. 4. Amplify human connection by using AI for research while focusing on relationship building. 5. Navigate with purpose by aligning AI use with core values and mission.
As we wrap up this extended exploration, what's your key message for our listeners, Gray?
The AI revolution isn't about replacing human potential. It's about rediscovering it. When we stop competing with AI and start complementing it, we open up unprecedented possibilities for human flourishing.
And perhaps that's the most exciting possibility of all, that in this age of artificial intelligence, we might finally understand what it truly means to be human.
Thank you for joining us for this special extended episode of the Do It a Cillion podcast. Remember, the future isn't just about what's possible, it's about what's valuable. Until next time, keep exploring the infinite possibilities of human potential. For our listeners who want to dive deeper, we've prepared a comprehensive resource guide including 1. The Lens Framework Worksheet. 2. 3 Horizons of Questioning Template. 3. Human Integration Framework Assessment Tool. 4. Recommended readings and practices. Visit our website at duodecillion.info/human-potential for these resources and join the conversation.